Hey, so last video I mentioned that we'd be talking about some best practices, but today I've decided that it'd be best to start with something a little bit simpler than that. So we're going to start off with variables today. So a variable is a container. So for example, variables can be called anything. So we'll start off by making one called, you don't start with a cap, but we'll do good variable equals good variable. Now, what this means, these little quotation marks that we used last time, is that what's inside of this is a data type known as a string. So, you can also, and this is a comment, and a comment is essentially just text that cannot run, that does not run. So, we'll clarify, this is a string, right here. This isn't necessary, but it's just to kind of display that. We can also do the same thing, so I'll copy this code here, and we'll go down, and then we'll do what's called a Boolean value. So Boolean value is a true or false. And when we do that, we don't use these, so we do true. And now this good variable here is equal to true. We can do the same thing for a integer value, which is an integer is a number that does not have a decimal. So for example, 23, that would be an int. And if we go down one more, we can look at what would be called a float. A float is a number with a decimal, so 1.2, and that would be a float variable. Now you notice that everything is assigned very similarly. So if I wanted to create an int and a float, the difference is only this decimal, 20. There's no difference in how we create the variables, and that's what's really nice about Python. The difference is it's really simple to do all this stuff. So I'm going to make my text a little smaller here so you can read it all. And basically, the string here, you'll notice that the only difference between the string and a variable is these little quotation marks, and that's what clarifies that that is a string. A string is just characters that aren't that have no value behind them. Like this good variable here is when you run it, when the program reads it, it will be equal to this. So for example, we will do the print statement we learned last time, and we'll print good variable, and we'll print it without any quotation marks, meaning that we're printing what the printing also just means, by the way, we're displaying it to the console, in case that wasn't already known. But basically, this good variable here, what we're doing is we're taking it, and we are displaying whatever it's containing. So what we'll do here is we will print out all of these, so we'll display them all. And then we should then see that inside of all of these, we have all these values. So, in the first time we printed this one, well, these are all the same thing. It had this inside of it. It had good var in a string format. So you can see it printed out good var. Secondly, it printed true, because it equaled true, which is a Boolean value, meaning a 1 or a 0, or true or false. Third, it printed 23, as it was equal to 23. And fourth, it printed this 1.2 value, because that's what it was equal to. Now this, and this with parentheses around it, and without parentheses, or sorry, not parentheses, with single quotes around it, are actually totally different, because the program, when you're writing it, reads this as this basically, it reads it as letters, even though it's numbers, and this is read as 1.2, the number we all know. So that is data types. Now, data types are what can be stored in variables. Now, these are the simple ones. There are more complex ones that we'll learn in the future, but for now, this is a string, and that's all you need to remember. A string is characters surrounded by single or double quotes. You can do double quotes if you prefer, but I like single quotes because they look nicer. A Boolean is a true or false. An integer is a number without a decimal. And a float is a number with a decimal. So for the future, you guys can come back to this video or if you write this down. But either way, this is how a string is created. And a string is just when you define a variable to this, just like that. So that's basically how simple it is. So when we For example, though, in the last video, when we wrote this, print hello world here, we were creating a string with these single quotes. And that is actually no different than if we were to do a, say we said this variable, and we called it hello, would be equal to that, and then we print hello. And it'll actually, if you look at the bottom here, oh, I'm pasting instead of running, you can see that we actually have this hello being printed here, and it's actually running this. So that is how data types work. If any questions on these, please write it in the comments. If anything's poorly explained also, I love feedback and anything like that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.